Well, greetings.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I am good.
That is good. This could be our most awkward start ever.
Yeah, it could be. But
Yeah,
it
could be.
could also be just a slow start that progressively gets more heartwarming as we go.
Yeah, or let's hope for that. Let's hope that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
If you're brand new, welcome.
Thanks. I am brand new.
If you've been here before, also welcome. But welcome back
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
This week's a little different.
Yeah, for a couple of reasons. Yeah.
Yeah. I can only think of one. What
So
else is there?
there's like varying levels of like importance of how it's different, but obviously the most important reason it's different is we're interviewing people that were part of a creative team for a film we reviewed.
Right.
Less
there's that.
like that's the like big one. Slightly less important were like our episode this week is actually a pre-recorded episode that we're just kind of leading up to, and it's an
whole
interview. So
is already done.
Yes.
So if I were to say something like, I'm really looking forward to sitting down and chatting with them,
you'd be
that
lying.
would be deceitful. Yeah,
You would be classified as a liar.
Mm-hmm.
And a fraud, perhaps.
I've been classified as worse.
Well,
frankly.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. My name's Brady.
I'm Pete.
And we're the Movie Men.
We are.
Typically, we review films. And
yes.
Occasionally talk about movies and shit like that. But this time around, a couple days ago, we reviewed the Naturist film, Act Naturally, and then wonderfully had an opportunity to sit down with the director, writer, producer, editor, just about everything.
Just about everything, yeah.
And then we also had a chance to sit down at the same time with one of the writers and talent for the upcoming sequel.
Yes.
And so that's an opportunity you don't pass up.
It's definitely an opportunity that presented itself that was very unique. So you
I
can't say
sent
no.
700 emails. So that's not true. No, they were very gracious and
they were,
and really wonderful. And I think that ultimately, what was I going to do with a firstborn anyways? Like, they just cost you money.
Well, and the thing is, in addition to that, what is a house for but to double mortgage, really?
Right. Yeah, totally.
Like, if you can't liquidate some assets as a result of it, what's the point?
Yeah, shit. Otherwise, live in a tent.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I agree 100%. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for clicking. If you clicked accidentally, but I still think there's something in store for you here. So it's a fun interview. It's been pre-recorded, so we're just literally going to click, sit back and listen along with you.
We hope you enjoy it.
And we hope you enjoy.
I'm Conci Nelson. I play Sarah Carter in Act Supernaturally. I'm also co-writer and producer and film loader, and I don't know all the hats I had for Act Supernaturally.
Makeup artist.
Yeah. A whole load of different titles.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm JP Riley. I am the director and producer and co-writer and editor and soundtrack performer, and I play Machete Freddy in both of them. We never know my character's name in the first movie, but we learn my character's name in the second movie of Act Naturally and Act Supernaturally.
Wow. So Act Supernaturally is an upcoming sequel.
Yeah, it'll be released the first week of September. We're putting out a Blu-ray of the first movie with Gunpowder and Sky, and it'll be available on Amazon and with a digital download of the sequel as well as a feature-length making of doc.
Nice.
Of both movies.
Okay, so at which point we're going to, without having even asked you, we're going to pressure you on the internet while everyone's listening to come back on and talk to us again sometime around the release so that we can learn more about that film and the behind-the-scenes process on that.
This sounds like coercion.
It is. Yeah.
We accept.
I mean, you're welcome to say no, but
no, I think we can do that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Cool. So this is a big deal for us. This is our first time. Not to make ourselves seem smaller than we are, but this is our first time speaking with the director of a film that we are reviewing. Which is a little intimidating. I kind of have to.
No,
I kind of have to.
I'm not that much of a director, so it's okay.
I'm way smarter than him, so you're fine.
She is, even though we both went to the same school in the same departments. Really. No, you were in theater. I was in film.
I was in theater and English. Thank you.
Yeah, and I majored in film and percussion performance.
Nice.
So poverty. We both majored in poverty.
Nice. Yeah. Well, we run a podcast, so we understand pinching pennies for sure.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the first question that pops into my head is, so you set out, you decide you want to make a film. Why this film? Why a naturist film? Why a film with naked people in it?
Well, I will tell you that I never expected to make this movie. I wrote it on vacation in St. Martin in college back in 2000 at Club Orient, where I had taken my girlfriend at the time to kind of introduce her to the world of naturism, because my parents are naturists and had just taken over a club that my great uncle originally owned. And we ended up having kind of an argument, a really bad fight one night, and I wrote most of the script sitting on the balcony on like legal pads. And I had an assignment for advanced screenwriting class at the time in school called like write a script about an experience that's unique to you. And at the time I was like 21 years old and was thinking like, well, what have I really done at this point in time? I've owned a landscaping business. I've been in a band. And I grew up in Westfield, Indiana, and went to a private school where I was the poor kid on a scholarship. So not a whole lot of life experience at that point. But I remember thinking, oh boy, do I have one for you guys. And I kind of submitted it as a writing sample to agents and stuff when I was directing music videos and first starting out. And the agencies would request like 3 scripts from you. Usually shortly after I had a video that was like a kind of a hit. And I got a phone during the writer's strike. I was writing a script called Safe House for Sony Pictures, and before it went into turnaround, it got picked up by Universal during the strike. And I got a phone call from my manager. No, it was my agent at the time at Paradigm, and he said that there's a producer named Christine Sheeks, who made a bunch of movies that I love called, I knew who she was because I'd actually just read Kevin Smith's book called Silent Bob Speaks. Which
is a great book.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And there's a whole chapter about the casting process of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back where she's mentioned a lot. So I kind of already knew her name from that. And it turns out like Scott Mosier had given me her business card, Kevin Smith's producer. And I went to a screening of Real Paradise, a movie that Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier exec produced by Steve James. And I'd met Scott Mosier, and he gave me her business card, or wrote her name and number down on a business card, and I put it through the laundry.
Oh, no.
And couldn't read it anymore. And then my agent called me and said, like, she's interested in reading it. So I don't know. I'll never know whether, like, Mosier recommended it, or just someone else was like, oh, they'd be a good fit together. But Christine had read, like, all of my scripts because, like, I guess during the writer's strike there was nothing new to make, and right. So they were going through.
Sounds like a familiar scenario.
Mm-hmm. And they kind of said like we'd like to develop a couple of your scripts, and I said, and I kind of knew which ones they were talking about, but I didn't expect it to be Act Naturally,
right?
Because that script always had good coverage, but went in the like does not a teen sex comedy,
yeah,
and not an indie drama that's awards bait. So it kind of got, and it said strong recommend on the writer, but not recommend on the script because too much male nudity. It'll get an NC-17, which was the kiss of death back then.
Yeah.
And so I just never figured it would get made. I figured if I made Act Naturally, it would probably get made self-financed through, my retirement or my pension when I was older. I'd like mortgage my home or something, and that was like old and gray.
Sure. Yeah, I can imagine having a script like this, and yeah, I mean, if you have a script like this and you're a naturist, then not only because it's your script, you've got some love for the script, but you're also going to be rather particular on how it's received and what the mood and the vibe is, because you don't want it to come off as somewhere between the new American Pie and a remake of Deep Throat, right? Like it's got to be it's got to be its own thing, but it's got to stay true to the naturist lifestyle.
When we were shopping around for financing, we actually sat down and met with Bender Spank, the company that made American Pie, and they offered us quite a bit of money to make it American Pie Nudist Colony. And,
oh wow!
And I could have cashed in on that to the tune of like 7 figures, and remember leaving being like, I can't do it, but the money sounds so good.
Yeah, see,
but I didn't.
The problem,
I was like, my mom will never speak to me again if I ruin the naturist movie.
Yeah, and I mean, by that point, we were out of at that point, you're not talking about Sean William Scott and Jason Biggs. You're talking about like these.
Just Eugene Levy, and that's the only original.
He'd be the only carryover, right? Because they did like Naked Mile, and they did because the first couple, first
Beta House,
Beta House, yeah,
Beta House, and I forget which other Bandcamp.
Because I've seen them all, and well, I mean, Bandcamp had to happen because Bandcamp was a part of American Pie lore. What actually goes on at Bandcamp, but. I remember the first couple of ones, like the true proper American Pie movies. They've got some nudity in them, but it's usually 1 or 2 scenes. But then they got into like their Naked Mile years, and it was like the gloves were off. It was just like, we're going to bombard you with as much gratuitous nudity as we can possibly get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was kind of something we kind of struggled with. I went back and did a rewrite on Act Naturally during the writer's strike and used like my intern and his girlfriend, who is now a quite an accomplished writer in her own right. Girl named Annie Levine, who's written several shows. Her dad's kind of a legend and wrote a ton of great shows. MASH included, and a whole bunch of legendary shows. And we did a cleanup on the script with non-union writers, and then we started casting and looking for a location. And looking for a location proved to be extremely difficult. It took us almost 2 years to find a location willing to let an actual nudist resort willing to let us shoot. We traveled around to a bunch of them. And
but your parents owned a place at this point, right?
Right, so and the board of directors, we thought it was going to be simple.
Right.
And then the board of directors found out how long we would need to shoot there and how intrusive it would need to be, and they were like, no.
Sure, you're bringing probably you've got a lot of crew there that's wearing clothing, and that's maybe a sticking point.
Well, that's the interesting thing. At least with the sequel, we informed all of our crew, unless it was necessary, like if you're, working with lights or whatever, they also had to adhere to the policies of the location.
Or removing a wasp nest, or working on a car, or...
Yeah, if you're moving a hot HMI that's like 400 degrees, like, you're allowed to wear clothes.
Sure.
No,
sure.
We did some stupid things of what not to do naked in the sequel, where we actually did it naked, so...
Nice. Nice. I will say that is, one of the highlights for me, one of the moments that I just fall over laughing at in the first one, is the montage of times where it's okay to wear clothing.
That hornet's nest that we had
was
a prop from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where our associate producer was working at the time, and she totally snuck that thing out of the art department. And as soon as we only did like 3 takes with it, and as soon as we were done, she was like, "I have to get this thing back before they realize it's
I got to get this back pronto, or I'm unemployed."
Exactly.
Yeah, nice. No, but I love how it's a montage that ends with just the most wonderfully unflattering shot of a guy working on a car from behind. And that
shot wasn't originally in there. I actually stole that shot just by being at the resort, and then after the fact asked a guy named Wayne Marinelli, who's a resident there, if I could use it.
Nice.
Because he was just working on his car, and I was walking by, and I was like, "Oh, that's too good."
That shot, and then and I don't know what, like, all of my favorite shots have to do with naked dudes, but that and the
circular
shot,
saw one too. The power tools.
the circular saw is great, but the other shot that I absolutely love is when Leah first meets Trevor, and there's just this close-up shot of Trevor's penis, and it's like, oh, yep, okay,
that is a close-up of my penis composited onto Trevor's body, actually.
Which I kind of wondered. I kind of, because of the way it was shot, I'm like, often you have body doubles, right? Like, often the guy whose butt that you see, Al Pacino's butt, is actually Joey Tribbiani instead of Al Pacino.
At the time, Josh, the actor who played Trevor, was on the show Friday Night Lights, and we shot it with his, and then we got a email from his manager upon showing the rough cut to everybody that he has a clause in his NBC contract about appearing full frontal nudity in any capacity anywhere in any form of media in the known universe, and he would be in breach of his Friday Night Lights contract. And so he called me and was like, "We have to cut that shot." And I was like, "What if we put my genitalia on your body?" So we had to do a shoot where I was wearing like a green screen with just the crotch cut out.
Right.
And he was wearing a green screen patch just over his junk.
Right.
And that was probably the weirdest. And we did it at Studio Media in Chicago where we were mixing the sound, and it was kind of one of the weirdest days of shooting.
That's
a story and a half for sure.
That would be up there.
But we decided not to lose that laugh. Like we were it's too good of a laugh.
It's a great laugh. It's a great laugh because it's up until this point. Up until this point, there's been, like, the film starts out and there's some nudity, right? Sort of a montage at the beginning. There's a little bit of nudity, and then we see a little bit of female toplessness. But this is the first, like, I think this is the first genitalia shot that you get in the film. This is the first, like, in-your-face naked shot.
If I would have had it my way, originally in the script, it was supposed to be right when Corey walks out to greet the girls. That was supposed to be the first big in-your-face nudist shot, but it was super cold that day. It was like in the mid 40s the morning we shot that, and the actor was like, "If you could not show me in this cold," it was like we walk outside, it was like instant sex change weather.
Right, for sure.
And we kind of decided to spare his pride, and it did look weird. It was just like, yep, it's that cold, and it's supposed to be, springtime. We shot that scene in like early March. There's really only like a couple times during the year where we can shoot at Olive Del Ranch where they have like an opening in their calendar, where there's enough time where we can get anything really done. Otherwise, you're just shooting over like a couple days. And it's usually in like beginning of March, and then there's another window like after Memorial Day before 4th of July, where there's another window where they don't have anything big on their calendar where we can shoot.
Right.
And it's only twice a year where we can really be there. That's one of the reasons these movies take a couple years to shoot, at least, because we only get like 2 windows during the year to film there.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
How long was production?
It's about 55 days total, but broken up over the course of like several years, over like 3 years long.
Oh, wow.
So, and that makes continuity as we call it on these movies kind of difficult.
Oh, for sure. Everyone's got to get the same haircut again, and
and we have to watch out about tan lines and like wardrobe, and even if
weight gain, weight loss.
Sure.
But wardrobe in itself, you don't think about wardrobe being a problem, but if like someone has different colored flip flops or different jewelry on, that stuff is so much more noticeable when you're naked than if you have wardrobe on.
Sure.
Like
towels,
just
sarongs,
earrings or something that like that jumps right out at you. And that we realized that stuff is so much more apparent when you're naked.
Yeah.
Right. And also likely far more, like when you sit down and you watch the film, sticks out to you like a blazing sore thumb.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Way more than it does the audience.
Yes. But something's not right, but you're not sure what it is.
Sure. Yeah.
And even the audience knows that something looks different or something looks off, but like they're not 100% sure what doesn't look right.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's kind of one of the things that like kind of separates indie good from indie bad at times.
Right.
Well, and then Act Supernaturally, we shot. What was the total number of days, Japes?
I think 91
And it was
or
over the course
92
of
days.
4 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
4 years.
2014 to
wow.
2018. So, yeah, that
Act
was
Supernaturally is just such a bigger thing. It's just a
it
much.
is because we're not solely on the resort. We go a lot of different places.
sure.
Um, uh,
So is
we're
like
in different cities.
right. So the 55 days on Act Naturally, is that 55 days of principal photography, or is that 55 days of shooting and in the editing room?
I think
and,
principal photography was like where we had like full cast and crew was like 31 or 32 days,
Sure,
and then there
and
were
then
20
reshoots.
days of. Well, not even reshoots, just pickup days where we didn't
Sure.
have where we had like a splinter crew or a B unit
Some
where we
B-roll,
went to the
yeah.
where we went to the resort, or we went to the beach location down in Deep Creek Hot Springs where we took like a skeleton crew and 2 actors.
Right.
Or the stuff that was done with Leah and Charlie in their apartments, that stuff was done with a small crew.
And
Right.
like on
Or
Act
when we went to
Supernaturally,
Austin,
yeah,
we were at Hippie Hollow in Austin for the wide shots of the resort or of the beach.
Right.
The beach location is actually 2 different places since there is no beach at Olive Dell Ranch. That's Hippie Hollow in Austin is the wide shots, and then the close-up stuff is of the beaches at Deep Creek Hot Springs in Apple Valley.
Right. For that's for Bear Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, there's
In the
2
film.
locations for Bear Lake, and we
Okay.
did a few more days at Austin in the sequel, and only
Yeah.
went to Deep Creek for like I think 1 or 2 days, on the sequel because we. And I went by myself for the most part and took like, I think Amanda is the only cast member who went with us to
Yeah.
Deep Creek.
Well, and
which
that's.
is,
I was gonna
Yeah,
say
Amanda- Go ahead.
on Act Supernaturally, we tended other than I'd say like 2.5 weeks of full crew, we really did almost entirely all of our shooting with an extraordinarily tiny skeletal crew.
Right.
Just because
So
we realized like on the first movie, in order to shoot in those little cabins, you don't need 40 people.
yeah,
You just don't. Like when we're shooting inside those little birdhouses that are like 10 by 12 cabins, you don't need a full grip electric department. And I mean, by the time you get like 2 cameras in there, a sound guy, and then the 2 actors, it's pretty tight. And by the time you light it, and then you have to turn the air conditioning off for sound, and those things have tin roofs, and we're shooting in the summertime where it's 105 degrees out there in the desert.
Mm.
And we usually kept a thermometer up in the corner. When it would hit like 120 in there, we'd usually take a break.
Oh yeah.
It gets stifling hot.
Yeah.
It's stifling hot.
it's pretty intense.
We tried to look for reasons to keep the doors open on the cabins in the sequel, where like someone's standing in the doorway, or just any way we could to get the
Sure.
heat out of those little hot boxes. Because the air conditioners work great, but they don't work great for sound.
Sure. Oh yeah.
No.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the Olive Dell in general is not an ideal place for sound because that's really close to Edwards Air Force Base, where you constantly have Air Force traffic, and every now and then, like the night we shot in the hot tub, there was a military training exercise where like all of a sudden like an F-35 went right overhead, like to the point so close to the ground where you could see the numbers on the bottom of the jet, and then a stealth bomber went by.
Wow.
And then a couple of Black Hawk helicopters, and we were like, hold for bogey. Jesus Christ, that's close.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
And there's a train tracks that runs by, so I know the train schedule like the back of my hand now. We know at like 11 o'clock on Fridays there's a freight train that goes through.
Sure.
And then there's the donkeys or the wild burros and the coyotes.
The wild burros never start hee-hawing during a comedy scene where it would be effective. It's always during like one of the dramatic scenes where it's serious. All of a sudden you have
Sure. Yeah, we're getting some progression on Charlie's background, and all of a sudden there's this comedic noise.
Or the worst is when one gets eaten by coyotes. That sounds lovely.
Oh wow.
Like where you're like, Jesus, that coyote's getting eaten, and then you see the carcass the next day when you're driving down to get food.
Yeah, for sure.
Good Lord.
And you're like, yep, that's the food
I've got a
chain
question.
right there.
Yeah. I've got a question for you guys. So I'm assuming this is kind of unique in that you guys are doing the shooting not just for a period of time at once, but you're saying supernaturally, like it's over the span of like 4 years. And I'm just curious if that is kind of unique. What is there kind of a unique dynamic to the actual project itself? Because I know you guys have like jobs and you're doing stuff when you're together for the yearly intervals where you're working on the film, but like it almost has like a summer camp feel to it, where like you'd have this dynamic where you're reunited with like your friends and colleagues once a year to push forward on this project, right? It's not like some films where it's just one and done and you're gone. Like,
and we didn't. Yeah, it's kind of
this,
true. But
yeah.
we basically, Conci and I basically work on it full time throughout the year, planning and scheduling it, and like cutting the stuff that we already have. There's 11,000 visual effects shots in the sequel.
Wow, compared to how many in the first?
Like 86 or 90. So I think it was like 90. And
what?
there are,
wow.
Yeah, there was like 90 visual effects shots in the first movie, most of which were like getting rid of the license plate and getting rid of the Honda logos on the car, and like getting rid of, and a lot of which were in that little like intro video.
Right.
But this one had so many, like almost every shot in some form or another is a visual effects shot.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's more ambitious for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Almost so much so that when we started shooting it, we were like, "What have we gotten ourselves into?"
Yeah.
We also
is this a good idea?
And the answer is maybe. I don't know that I would ever. Like for example, we have sequences where, we have the sequel takes place over Memorial Day Nude Olympics weekend, the new Memorial Day Nude Olympics bash.
Right.
And it's kind of the biggest event of the year, so we had to have. One day we did a casting call for the Nude 5K, where we put up a thing on our Facebook page and our True Nudist page asking for extras, and we figured like maybe 50 or 100 would show up, but we had 1,000 people show up.
Oh, geez.
And that actually pissed off the resort something wicked.
Oh, yeah.
Because there wasn't enough parking, there wasn't enough food and water. We just didn't anticipate nearly that many people showing up. So it does make for a really cool shot where we have an aerial of like 1,000 people who are naked running. So it's all sorts of production value, and we shot it with like 7 cameras all over the course.
Well, and I picture
a drone.
I picture that also just being like logistically, you wake up that morning thinking, okay, I need to prepare myself to coordinate and direct 50 people with this megaphone or this PA system or whatever.
The God mic, yeah.
Yeah, which is a lot different when 1,000 people show up.
When 400 showed up, we were like, we should close the gates. But some people, we talked to a girl who flew in from Australia to be in it.
Oh wow!
And then you feel awful. You're like, well, I can't say no to you.
We can't. Yeah, and we heard people coming from Portland and from as far as Florida out to California, and we were like, well, let them in. And we just figured if people are going to come and not get paid, I'm willing to be naked. But we ended up like getting all the photo releases, and we ended up just we had this big thing of slap bracelets we both work with Young Nudist America.
Right.
In the California chapter.
Back before it was dissolved, but yeah.
Yeah, but we ended up taking we're just writing photo releases on the back of all the slap bracelets.
Sure.
And having people sign them. So if they were wearing a slap bracelet, it meant that they had a photo release signed.
Right. Okay. So we've chatted with our connection to naturism and naturist films is Stefan Duchesne, who came on the show a little while back, and he's got a podcast and he talks about the Young Naturists of America. So that's just so that I'm getting my bearings right. That's Felicity Jones, right?
And Jordan.
Oh, Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I've known Felicity most of my life, actually.
And by the way, not the Rogue One Felicity Jones. That's
not
the
Felicity
same
Jones,
person.
like the great granddaughter of the guy who started Rock Lodge, which was the first nudist resort in the United States, I believe.
Oh wow! Okay, cool.
But yeah, I was the California or Southern California head of Young Naturist America for like a year and a half or 2 years, I think.
For 2 years.
Yeah.
I was the co-head. until I think they dissolved it in 2018, 2019.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
not
that's
sure.
2018. I think.
It was 2018. I'm pretty sure they around the time Felicity got pregnant. I think
Okay.
Got married. Got married.
got married and with child.
So you talked about removing logos and stuff like that, and I have a question that kind of I don't know. This feels like a smooth segue to me. So we have there's a scene in Act Naturally, which is the staff meeting, and the staff meeting is really just a bunch of people sitting around drinking beer and gossiping. It would seem like this isn't nobody's taking minutes at this staff meeting, and I don't know if I was supposed to pick up on this. Who's the Simpsons fan? How did that come about?
We all are, I think.
Oh, okay. All right. Because that was a great moment. I rewound and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And was that like it's the same font in everything, is it not?
Yes, in the Buff beer. Yeah.
So
Buff
is that a
Duck.
copyright? Like, did you?
No, it's we had to get permission.
Okay.
We wrote to Matt Groening at The Simpsons and asked them if we could do it under fair use under parody, and he said, "Oh, of
Interesting.
course."
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
we wrote a letter and then we got clearance on that one.
That's not even like writing to Fox. That's going to the
we went straight to the source.
Straight to the main man. Yeah. Oh, cool.
And if you write a nice enough letter, and we sent him like proofs of different versions of the label, and that's the one he approved.
Right. And his thoughts were probably, this isn't the weirdest request I've gotten.
No, he was totally down with it. He asked to read the script, and we sent him a teaser trailer.
Nice.
That was about a minute long. And we did the same thing happened with the Act Naturally song, the cover song. We had a band that I had just directed a couple of music videos for named Company of Thieves. But we had to get permission to use the Act Naturally song, get the mechanical license from it. And so we got to talk to Ringo.
Wow.
And Buck Owens' granddaughter. We didn't know that that's originally a Buck Owens song.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
And but Ringo and the Beatles and Apple Records co-own the rights with Buck Owens' granddaughter, so it's a co-ownership. But then when Paul McCartney sold the rights to the Beatles catalog over to Michael Jackson, that went with his rights went with it. But we ended up getting to talk to Ringo.
Which is a sale
that was like
that still bewilders
a religious moment for me was getting a phone call from Ringo Starr.
Yeah, so you've been on the phone with Ringo Starr.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, we ended up getting through to him because we have a band called the Verve Pipe, which I directed a music video for. The keyboard player for that band, Doug Corella, is in a band called the Carls with a guy named Todd Bowie, who also appears in the soundtrack. But Todd Bowie used to be Joe Walsh's guitar tech, and Joe Walsh plays in Ringo Starr's all-star band. So we had to go through Todd Bowie, through Joe Walsh to get to Ringo.
Oh, so well, to hell with having made movies. Your tombstone will read "Knew one of the Beatles." Like that's.
So
but I did not expect to hear from Ringo. But Ringo's like, it promotes peace and love, and it promotes body positivity, and gets. Yeah, it was crazy. But then some people said no. Like, I wanted a song called Candy Says during that montage where Charlie gets naked for the first time. Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the film, there's a scene where the lead actress goes skinny dipping for the first time down by the lake. And I really wanted a song called Candy Says, which is a Velvet Underground song written by Lou Reed. Yes. And I wanted the Blind Melon cover version of it. And we got a hold of Lou Reed through his manager, which happens to be the same manager that Company of Thieves had. And Lou Reed called and said no.
So,
but when
not to give any spoilers. Go ahead.
So we had to come up with something. But when you get the phone call from Lou Reed and he's just like, I think the script's garbage. And then you're just like, okay, well, sorry.
Yeah.
It's good talking to you, Lou Reed. I'm a big fan.
So not to give any spoilers away about Act Supernaturally, but we also have some fun new parody stuff that we bring in Act Supernaturally, which we had a lot of fun coming up with. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Neat.
Look forward to seeing that. Which by the way, Pete and I will definitely we're formally now accepting, when Act Naturally 3 takes place in Canada and you need 2 Uber drivers. That's
It'll be the third one will be called React Naturally.
Yeah.
React Naturally.
React Naturally.
Nice.
Which
Yeah,
we
we
shot a
were-
little bit
of during the sequel.
Oh wow.
We did.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was
we
just.
had to shoot certain
Wow.
scenes of it. I know you were kidding, but no, it's always been a kind of set up as a trilogy.
Oh wow. And that's
We've
the
already
third
shot-
one is where they destroy the ring, and that's
It's where
Basically,
Frodo
yeah.
and
Nice.
the third one we had to shoot certain elements of. There's a post-credit scene which really sets up the third one.
okay.
Yeah.
So
If I was to talk about it
okay.
anymore, that would be a
no,
huge
no,
spoiler.
no. So
But
are
we had
both
to shoot several scenes for React Naturally while we had the actors at this age, while we had the actors available.
sure. So are both
Especially since it's
Oh,
the first
neat.
one, since it took us 4 years to get through
right.
this one. So
By this point, your actors have aged 15 years since the first one, and it's like.
as one of them, I'm already 7 years older than when I first signed on. So,
Yeah, for sure,
or
for
6
sure.
years older.
So
And we had so many setbacks on the sequel too.
Oh,
Right.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
like the sequel started right before we went into production. I got out of the hospital 5 days before we
Oh.
started shooting.
Oh,
'cause
wow.
I got hit by a drunk driving porn star while crossing the street to go to
Oh.
go on our way to South by Southwest to do a midnight screening of the first movie. I was getting gas and going to the bank, and the AM PM ARCO stations here in LA don't take debit cards. I just dropped my assistant off to deposit a residual check, and so I could get per diem for the actors and stuff, and rent a van to go to South by. ARCO only takes debit cards, no credit cards allowed, so I only had a credit card, and I stepped off the curb and got hit by a drunk driver who was going the wrong way down a one-way, and spent
Wow.
6 months in the hospital.
and they also happen to be a porn star.
Yeah, she was coming on her way home from America's Next Top Gangbang.
I mean, it makes a good story though. Like,
Oh, I was hurt real bad.
yeah.
JP is never at a loss for a good story.
And
Jeez.
the thing that's adds insult to injury is I had just gotten out of the hospital 2 weeks before that from having like the world's most dangerous form of E. coli.
Geez. So you basically showed up and said, "Is my bed still
Wow.
available?"
Yeah, I just got out of the hospital in the Midwest. I got E. coli during a screening in Providence, Rhode Island, at this event called Nudity in the Upspace at Brown University, which I never made it to because Hurricane Sandy kicked in. So we made it back to Baltimore, where we just done a radio show,
Sure.
and I ended up getting E. coli, like one of the most dangerous forms of it. Like
Wow.
19 people got it, and they told me there was a 90 to 95% chance I wasn't going to survive. And out of the
Holy.
20 people who got it, 19 of them died. And I was like, that's 5%.
Yeah, that's.
So I
that's-
just
Damn.
gotten out of the hospital from that and had driven my I was on the no-fly list for a year. Because if you contract that particular strain of E. coli, which is E. coli 0157H7HN, the HN being the dangerous part. And so you get put on the no-fly list for a year. So I bought a motorcycle and drove my motorcycle across country.
Yeah, I was gonna say being on a no-fly list is kind of a punch in the gonads of when it comes to filming and promoting a film. Like,
Right.
geez.
And
Wow.
so I got a motorcycle and drove it back across country and didn't really want to talk about any of the things I'd just been through. But when
Sure.
you get that form of E. coli and you
Right.
get put into the infectious disease ward, that room in the infectious disease ward, which is in the basement of the hospital, you take one look at that old lead paint that's kind of chipping away from the ceiling, and you're like, oh, this room needs a paint job. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this is where they like to put what they call a goner.
Yeah, like what's
No one's going to get a comment card on this room.
what's killing me, the E. coli
Yeah.
or the asbestos? Like, what's you
Right.
know,
And like
yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
Wi-Fi signal, and you get real tired of Mexican soap operas.
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, I
I
speak for
don't
yourself.
know how anyone would get tired of Mexican soap operas.
Exactly.
Well, I don't
That's,
speak
Yeah,
Spanish
come on.
fluently, so that's part of the
Well, that's
problem.
your own fault.
That
I gotta-
doesn't matter. Yeah.
I downloaded a VPN just so that I could get Mexican Netflix, so that I could watch, Spanish
The
soap operas.
Telemundos.
My brother's been saying I need to watch. My brother and his wife have been telling me I need to watch La Reina del Sur. So I have to check that one out.
So you have
It's
to
on Netflix.
you have to translate for your neighbors to the north because we don't speak any Spanish.
Oh, that's right.
No.
So right after I got out of
La-
the hospital. No, go ahead. But right after
La
I got
Reina
out of the
del
hospital. Go ahead, Conci. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay, well then stop interrupting me. Jeez.
Fine.
La Reina del Sur just means the Queen of the South.
Okay. Yeah. See, up here we speak English, a little bit of French, and we eat cheese and gravy on our French fries. So that's kind of
I miss poutine.
our cultural. Yeah. That and maple syrup. We're big into.
Yep.
See, I went to New York. I spent like a week in New York, and went to my first ever IHOP. We have IHOPs here, but it's like, I think maybe there's one in Toronto, there's one at Niagara Falls, but that doesn't count because it's basically across the border anyways. And I went to the IHOP in New York. Actually, it was New Jersey, so we're lucky we made it out alive. But
Sure.
and IHOP had like all these different syrups, and what they called maple syrup was definitely not.
No, it's definitely.
No.
I can't. I actually have a weird intolerance to high fructose corn syrup, so I don't.
And that's
tend
all it
to
was.
Have any of those ever?
No.
And I'm allergic to two things: maple syrup and ketchup.
Wow.
So I have an allergy to maple syrup. I know, it's weird. I put jelly. I put jelly on my
still think
pancakes.
it's just red number 5, but that's me.
Yeah, she has a theory that's red number 5, but I've had real maple syrup too, and it does it as well. I get my throat kind of closes up, and I start sneezing real bad, and get a runny nose, and my eyes start to itch. My grandpa had it too, and so does my dad and my uncles. So
you know what though? You've just described your symptoms, and having being Canadian, it still sounds worth it to me. I'm like, whatever.
And
every now and then I do it. I'll take like a Benadryl, and I'll go for it.
But the extent of your maple syrup consumption generally is at IHOP.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure,
for
sure. That's it's not the premier pancake place. No, for sure, for sure.
So, yeah, I basically wasn't gonna miss my premiere. Like I remember being given not a great outlook when I was in the hospital from getting run over. I had a punctured lung, and my right leg was broken in 26 places. I had a compound fracture on my femur, a severed femoral artery, fractured cervical spine, like perforated colon, perforated liver. And I remember my dad came out, and I was in and out of consciousness, and like I heard the doctor say to my dad, he's fighting for his life right now. And I remember thinking, is that what I'm doing in here? Is that what's happening?
Jeez.
Am I fighting? But I wasn't gonna miss my premiere. The premiere of the film, of the first act, naturally, was like a couple days after I got out of the hospital. I remember being like, I'm not missing the red carpet, even if I have to go down it on a walker or a wheelchair. I'm gonna be there. So I was not going to miss that.
Sure. So having survived all of that.
That's how all of our obstacles started.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that was just an omen for the entire rest of the shoot. We lost our cinematographer pretty early on from stomach cancer. We lost one of our...
colon cancer.
God.
Colon cancer.
Yeah, my longtime collaborators died of colon cancer after the first leg of the shoot. One of the plates in my leg came out while we were filming.
Yeah, that was fun.
I have metal plates on my leg, and I had E. coli, and I'd lost about 50 pounds while I had E. coli. And because that's one of the ways you kill E. coli is starving it out, where you can't eat for 6 weeks, anything except for like an IV.
Jeez.
And I was thinner than I'd ever been. And so they put a plate in me for 150-pound man, and I'm 210 pounds, and when I'm thin.
Right. So a little over the 150 mark.
And so I was filming a handheld sequence at this theater scene for movie night, and I took a step down off of a raked auditorium. We were filming in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Conci's parents have like a home theater, and Conci tells the story better than I do at this point because it was so painful. Do you want to tell the rest of it?
I mean, sure, I suppose I'll pick up the reins. So, all of a sudden, we were on a break, and JP was re-rigging everything for a different shot, or a different angle, actually. And I'm in the other room, and all of a sudden, I just hear this blood-curdling scream, like feminine scream. Screech, not even a scream, a screech. Like one you would hear in, like, The Ring.
Like just like a Bee Queen horror movie squeal.
100%. And I come running back in, and JP's like sprawled on the ground. Now, of course, because we're all shooting naked, he's naked, sprawled on the floor, holding the camera above his head, like on the tripod, just kind of like.
But I didn't break the camera or the lens. I saved the camera and the lens.
He did not break the camera or the lens, and we rushed him to the urgent care out there, where they properly diagnosed him with having a swimming screw.
Yeah, one of the screws had come out of my leg, and they said, the doctor comes back and goes, well, you have what we technically call a swimming screw. And I was like, is that a real thing?
And I was like, so I guess it's true. You do have a screw loose.
Wow.
But they wouldn't, but I couldn't,
Nice.
but I was off the no-fly list finally at this point. I'd just gotten off the no-fly list.
And but then you weren't allowed to fly again.
But I wasn't allowed to fly again because of the pressure. The screw could come loose and get into my heart.
Jeez.
And puncture an artery or something.
Puncture an artery, so I had to drive back to. We had to get a van and drive all the gear back to LA once again. So we were on the road again, and we stopped and filmed in Austin as long as we were going to have to drive, and got some cool road trip footage. But
we did.
And then shortly after that,
wow.
Our cinematographer died, and then one of our executive producers and financiers, a guy named Chaz, who's in the first movie several times. He's the heavy set fellow who kind of is constantly in the background.
Okay.
Well, and we had written him we also had to rewrite after that because we had written him a relatively substantial part, not as far as like screen time, but as far as influence in the way in which the movie ended. So we had to rewrite the entire script at that point because
had he lived one more day, we would have had it in the can. And he was very pivotal to the ending, where you kind of introduce something at the beginning and at the ending you don't see it coming, and it wraps everything up. And he passed away in his trailer while eating lunch. He was no spring chicken, and he was on kidney dialysis at the time.
Holy shit! Like, so at this point, like, does completing this trilogy feel like a vendetta against the universe? Like, come hell or high water.
A little bit.
This is why I know why next week I'm starting my MFA.
Conci started grad school, and I'm finishing up sound mix right now on the sequel.
Nice.
Which sound on these movies is always a pain in the butt, and we shot the sequel on film. And one of the things we didn't take into consideration, film's actually cheaper to shoot now than digital.
Is it really?
Yeah. Well, Super 16 anyway.
Yeah, Super 16 film is cheaper. Well, and 35 is even cheaper than Super 16 at this point.
Is it? Well,
because because the aspect ratio of Super 16 is the same as widescreen, whereas 35 is not.
Right. That's really interesting. I mean, my assumption would just be that shooting digital is the way to go, but I guess not.
Well, it depends.
Film negative and film stock has gotten so cheap because it's got to compete with digital.
Nobody's using it, yeah.
Right.
Well, there's that. There's also there are fewer people who know how to use it, so that part has become more expensive, or you just have to learn yourself.
Sure.
Like me.
Finding good film loaders who are willing to work naked was a challenge, so we just learned how to load our own film.
Sure.
And then on top of it, what a lot of people don't take into consideration are the storage necessities for an entire film. So if you're shooting in 4K, or I mean even 2K, but especially 4K or above, you're going to need so many more terabytes of storage, both for the actual footage and then for the renders and for editing and all of that, that your storage costs become exponentially higher. And what we were looking at was the storage cost that we were looking at for like a 16 terabyte drive at the time was going to be about $30,000 more than if we shot everything on film.
And we bought a digital Bolex. There's the news covers the local news covers the Nude Olympics weekend. Like, you've all seen the news stories on nudist resorts, where the news comes out and covers an event and kind of makes fun of people. But we bought a digital Bolex to shoot that stuff with, and the digital Bolex shoots 500 gigs an hour of storage.
Wow.
Right, and that's not even that's at 2K, and so an Alexa, the Airy camera, that shoots, I can't even remember, but it's a whole lot more.
Yeah. Storage becomes your issue at that point.
Exactly.
Right. And so the film transfer is still significantly less, and it's the same quality.
Sure. Well, and then even just
drives fail.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of drives fail, and the worst case scenario with film is we rescan the negative. If a drive fails when you're shooting on digital,
it's gone.
it's gone.
Yeah. Well, and then even just like when you're talking about data that is that big, like, you know, talking about rendering stuff so that you can scrub through footage and not have it be all choppy, so that you can, like, you're just talking about exponentially bigger processing power as well to try to manage these massive files.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have a 12 core with 128 gigs of RAM, and it still chokes on it.
It still struggles. Yeah, for sure.
And that taking that into consideration, I'm 40 now, and I don't want to see my ass in 4K with every single pimple and hair. Like,
I never wanted to, and I'm in a lot more of this movie.
Yeah. As we get older, the 2K resolution in the Super 60, there's a reason The Walking Dead shoots on Super 16, and it's because they don't want to see the visual effects makeup and the special effects makeup, the seams, so to speak. And I think that for certain things there is too much resolution. But we shot the first movie on digital, but the flashbacks in the first movie were all shot on film. And this time we basically reversed it. So the whole movie's shot on film, but the flashbacks go to the 80s. And so we're shooting on we shot some of the flashbacks on like DV and High 8 to go back to the 80s.
Because you know what? You can tell when a production has simply just slapped a filter or a plug-in onto their, right? They're like, should we shoot with a era accurate camera? And some doofus on the set says, no, I've got a Premiere plug-in that will just, it's just an overlay and it'll make this thing look, and it never does because it's too crisp.
In my opinion, something's real, you feel it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And the flashbacks on the first one, I think, were shot in Super 16 or Super 8 and 16 mil, standard 16.
Right.
But I think that's something that a lot of filmmakers aren't taking into account anymore. Is like, you need to look at your medium, like as far as what you're shooting on, as part of your paintbrush.
Oh yeah.
It's because it really does make a difference. Like, I can't watch a period piece, like one that's made now that is in digital, and not be like, this. It just takes me out of it because I'm like, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look gritty enough. It doesn't look old enough.
And sometimes those choices work out and sometimes they don't.
Right.
64 frames per second is far from the biggest issue with the Hobbit films, but it definitely wasn't. It wasn't the spectacular thing that it was supposed to be. It's like, I'm shooting it in 64 frames per second, and everyone was like, this is cool. This is going to be wonderful. And then we all sat down and watched The Hobbit and was like, it's a home video. Why?
Right, exactly.
And that was one thing I kind of regretted about the first movie, was shooting it on digital. It was like, it felt more like a TV series to me almost at times. And it feels more, the sequel definitely feels more cinematic.
For sure. Well, and yeah, so TV and like, and I mean, it's definitely an indie film. Right, like there's no way getting around that Act Naturally's got an indie vibe to it.
Oh, for sure.
But it's much lower budget, and it's and definitely being shot on digital. And so I think digital. I mean, obviously there's color correction and grading and everything done in post, but I find digital, even just in and of itself, unless you're shooting on like red or something of that caliber, has a more television or teen comedy kind of vibe to it.
And the other thing we were up against, as we already mentioned, is the heat factor. Like when a digital overheats, it takes an extraordinarily long time for it to cool down, if it cools down. And
we had a couple days on the first one where we didn't actually capture anything because it got so hot.
So, because film cameras are mechanical, they don't overheat.
Right.
And we didn't have the problem of dust.
Now the emulsion can get soft, and so we can have problems with that on the film.
Dust still became a problem with scratching negative at times.
Dust and scratches can be a problem, but you're not going to have.
But water, dust, and heat are like the three biggest nemesises of computers, which is what those digital cameras really are. And so with the water, the heat, and the sand, there were some days where we're like, well, go to the pool because it's 120 degrees out here before we turn the AC off.
Sure. So I've got a bunch more questions, but do you have anything, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that kind of keeps going in my mind is like you're telling us all these kind of setbacks, and I feel there are setbacks that anyone can have in a project that you kind of can wake up in the morning and you can kind of wonder what am I like, should I continue doing this? And definitely some of these setbacks you're talking about are bigger than a project, like they're life threatening, like life altering, life shaking. So they're at a different scale, but
sorry,
Go ahead.
I'm just curious, like, that's okay. Like, I'm just curious, were there points where something, like, what infused you with energy? Like, was it like Brady said, like, at some point you're just saying, screw you, universe, I'm going to win this battle? Or was there something, like, did someone reach out, like a fan reach out and just say, hey, looking forward to this, and it just gave you a spring in your step? Or someone that you guys work with and you just kind of felt like, yeah, like this is my crew, we feel strongly in this project? Like what woke you up some mornings? Like I'm just curious.
It gets hard at times, and like we rented a house out in Big Bear, which is like much closer to Olive Dell, and it's kind of equidistant between Olive Dell and Deep Creek Hot Springs, so we could have less travel time to get to the resort, and it's a lot cheaper to rent out there. And in 2017 there was a big fire, and it sent a 13-foot flaming tree limb through our ceiling, and that's when, for me,
wow,
that's for when like morale got real low for me. And Conci got really sick during the production too, and was on 3 rounds of chemotherapy.
That's like something from a Final Destination film. Like that's
I felt like the world was against us.
It did feel a little Final Destination.
One of the reasons I'm building my own home right now is because we lost our home in that fire.
Holy.
So
my goodness.
Took the insurance money and I bought a vacant parcel of land in LA, and I'm building a container home, so that'll combust before it burns.
So I mean, my debut film is going to be the biopic of J.P. Riley, because that's
for sure. I wish someone were making a like behind the scenes this, and because
it all seems made up too. Like, I mean,
we have a lot of behind the scenes footage. We started kind of rolling a GoPro all the time.
Because the last couple years, in the last few years, I ended up, I was in a clinical trial for a medication. I ended up getting thrush so bad that I was supposed to be intubated and should have died. I didn't die because of some connections that JP's father had at the time, and found the correct medication because I'm allergic to antifungals. And then I had to have 4 emergency eye surgeries that summer. So it was tough. And JP was diagnosed with a form of epilepsy, which is really difficult to deal with. And
that came from blunt force trauma from getting hit by a car.
So the best piece of advice that I could possibly give you, the wisdom that I can, give to you, is if there's ever a day in your schedule where you've got it all lined up, all the actors are on set, and we're gonna get some key shots. If it looks like there's even the slightest chance that there may be lightning that day, just push it off, man. Don't.
Oh, right.
Honestly.
Don't.
And I wrote a thunderstorm into the script.
Oh, that's
which I cut because it was going to be too expensive to get a rain bar.
Yeah, see, that's one of those film things.
But then we had a thunderstorm, so we went
during
out
the shoot.
Oh, you still got it, which is fantastic. Which
I woke up the morning. It was like the morning that we were supposed to shoot a scene just with Susan May Pratt and the girl who plays Christy, the burn victim, and Trevor, the bartender. And I woke up and it was pouring rain, and I was like, "Well, shoot's canceled." And I started sending out an email to everyone, just go down to the restaurant and we'll just cancel the day. And then I was walking down to the restaurant to have breakfast.
I stopped you.
And I was like, wait a minute, it's raining and it's pouring and there's mudslides. Like, someone get the cameras and some trash bags. We're filming this shit.
Nice. Well, because isn't that one of the golden rules of film, is that you never, you never write weather into a script until weather starts happening, and then
weather, children, and animals.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
just still can't believe it took me like a good 45 minutes to realize that thank you, God, for participating in our film today.
Thank you, and please let this not be one of those days where you're trying to kill me.
Yeah.
But to answer your question about like what keeps you going, largely fiscal responsibility to our investors sometimes. Like the people who, 3 of our investors on the first movie reinvested the net profits into the sequel for various reasons of their own. And I know that one of our investors has pretty much all of his money tied up in this. And the reason he decided to do that, he was going through a real gnarly divorce at the time of the sequel started, and his ex-wife was taking him to the cleaners. And he said that, like, if we don't reinvest my money in this, she'll get it. Yeah. And I don't want her to get everything. So, like, there's a fiscal responsibility, too, that I feel like, I don't want to waste $500,000.
There is that.
I also think $500,000 is someone else's money,
Sure. Well, and that's one of the reasons why, like, financing films, that's one of the reasons why, even though we have, around the world, we have theaters slowly opening, you've got stuff like China. China's not showing anything longer than 2 hours. And so you've got a lot of films that are pushing their release back by like a year, because people mistakenly assume, that when Disney sets out to make their next MCU film, and the budget on this film is $250 million. A lot of people think Disney's just pulling that $250 million out of their back pocket. Studios, even big studios, don't have this money lying around, and so that's why if a film can't get a proper theatrical release, it's not going to be able to pay back the money and interest that it owes to these big financiers.
And that is absolutely, and don't even, when you look at that budget of $250 million, that is not even an accurate number, because there's another usually $200 million or so in P&A, which is prints and advertising.
Oh yeah. That doesn't include promotional stuff at all.
Yeah, those
typically.
Budgets you see on like IMDb Pro don't include the P&A budget, which is usually these days just as much, if not more, that film has to clear the hurdle of.
Oh, for sure.
And that we ended up paying back most of our investors based on our small theatrical release of like 5 or 6 theaters. I think we made like $416,000 on our first 19 days in theaters.
Right.
And that is what paid back the investors who didn't want to reinvest. And it also paid off like all of my credit cards, because I had like $50,000 sitting on credit cards.
Sure.
From the first movie.
Ooh.
And I still had that on the sequel too. And so
that sentence alone, I think maybe gave me a heart palpitation. That was
and that interest adds up quick. The budget goes up every month.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Yeah, you're sitting there. Sure. It cost you money to have that sitting there.
Yeah, it was. It's a high stress factor.
Yeah, and so that's part of the thing that gets up in the morning, is just wanting to pay back the interest on your own credit cards and stuff.
I'd like to not declare bankruptcy, so I need to keep pushing here.
But I also think there's an element of like being a crazy independent film maker, because there's a level of just tenacity that you have to have in order to want to do it in the first place, and then be faced with, because not every day is a catastrophe, but you have
when these movies are fun, they're super fun. Like when these movies are fun to make, it's like injecting pure joy into your soul.
Oh sure, you wake up, you wrap on a day and you go, I can't believe this is what I get to do.
Yeah, there are days like that, but when they're bad, it's really, really bad. And there's nothing actually that kills morale more than when you cast somebody new, or you've cast somebody and they end up not enjoying the experience of naturism, or they realize that cameras are rolling and people are going to see it and they don't want to come back.
Sure.
And that's happened a couple times. And that hurts morale almost more than anything else.
And cause more rewrites.
And when someone's like, I don't like doing this and I don't want to do it anymore, and like I'm uncomfortable. And you can't be like, well, you signed up for it. You don't want to be that person. But like... But you also feel a little bit like deceived, because usually we take people out to the resort first and like get them comfortable. But as soon as cameras start rolling, it changes things.
Right. How many people are going to see me naked? Yeah.
And they even look at the numbers on the first movie sometimes, and they're like, wait, how many million people saw this? So they just looking at the numbers on the trailer where there's like 8 million views on the trailer, and they're like, oh god.
I had the distinct advantage in that, like, I was on The Young and the Restless as a kid, so like, the idea of having 10 million people watching me didn't ever bother me. So the real question was like, am I okay with being naked in front of all those people? And um, actually, due to my experiences with I have a psoriatic arthritis, which is an autoimmune form of arthritis similar to rheumatoid. But I'd been in rooms with doctors so many times where I felt more vulnerable and more critiqued than I ever did with any naturist, that I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my deciding factor in getting involved in the first place.
So this actually segues perfectly into a question I have. So our main cast, right? And I'm gonna use, I've got an IMDb page set up here, but for the sake of the listeners, I'll use character names because the audience is going to know. If you've seen the film, you're going to know the characters' names more than you'll know the actor and actresses' names, right? So we've got people like Corey, who's my favorite part of the movie, by the way, and Trevor, and Charlie, and Leah, and everyone of our main cast. What percentage is actors and actresses who are having to get naked for a film versus actors and actresses who also happen to be naturists?
Almost everybody who was a speaking part in the first movie was an actor.
Wow. Which adds another layer of difficulty, right? Because you have to...
scheduling them is difficult.
Yeah.
Alone. Like this Corey, the person you mentioned, is a guy named Alan Cox. He's Brian Cox's son. And we have the same manager, but Alan is on a show, and he's British, first of all, and straight. But he was on a show on the BBC, and he's also was in a movie called The Dictator, which we had to stop filming at one point for him to go off and shoot The Dictator with Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah.
And and we have to stop and let actors go shoot their TV shows. Like we had to let Josh go back and shoot Friday Night Lights, who plays Trevor.
Unless you can match what they're going to make on that show.
Yeah, like SAG dictates that, like, if you can pay the actor what they're getting paid to do their TV show, which we pay them pennies compared to what they make on a network television
then
series.
you get into a Family Ties, Back to the Future scenario.
Exactly. So we kind of have to, that's one of the reasons we shoot when we shoot, is because they're on hiatus, because the upfronts are happening in New York, which is when all the ad time is bought and sold for the current season of television.
Right.
It's one of the reasons we only shoot in May, because we know that all the actors are going to not be on their television shows. Like Susan May Pratt.
They're all looking for work.
Susan May Pratt, who plays Christy Lerner, she, at the time when we shot this movie, she was on Masters of Sex on Showtime, so we were shooting around that. And she was also on Cinemax's Outcast, so we were shooting around that.
Right.
And they were basically shooting around actors' television schedules as well, because almost all of them are in network series.
Sure.
And some actors are not back in person in the sequel. Some of them are back in voice only. Right. But everyone's back, but some people are only back in voice only, because the movie's set during Memorial Day weekend, but it's shot during Corey, the actor who you're talking about, the chef. Yeah. It's his big gay wedding in Las Vegas. So half the staff is gone during the busiest weekend. So we shot some of the stuff in Vegas, where we show the Vegas in the hotel room, but like those actors are only in Vegas, so we got them done in a day.
Right. So I mean, so that was another question. Are both in person? Are both Katie and Liz back for Act Supernaturally?
Liz is back in a big way. It's Charlie's movie.
Right.
It was always kind of set up to be the second movie is going to be Charlie's film, and the third movie is going to be and the third movie is Leah's film, Katie Hall's film.
Cool.
They're both in it to a degree, but Leah has a very small role in this one.
Sure.
And Charlie has a very big role, and Conci's role is fairly large. She's kind of the antagonist. She plays Rusty, the boozy lawyer's daughter, who is home for
equally as boozy,
but she is kind of home for the summer, working in the bar, which is the last place she should be working.
Okay.
and she kind of, her objective is to get kicked out of the resort so she can go work on her documentary during the summer.
I'm
so
really
she is
looking forward to
actively
this.
trying to get thrown out and piss people off, like filming them without permission. Just basically being a little agent of chaos.
Sure.
Oh yeah, I do everything I can possibly do to piss people off, but in the end I end up saving everything because I'm awesome.
Sure.
But not intentionally. She ends up kind of saving the day by being an asshole.
Yeah.
Right. Pete, you had a question about the origins of the story, and I've got I'm kind of wondering a couple things on that. So why don't you ask that question?
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm just curious, just with the origins of this story. Is this just the characters that are brought to life through the story? Is it just something that the creative team just kind of spitballed and threw against the wall, and that's kind of what made for a good story? Or are some characters kind of based on truths on people you've met or experiences in actual parks? Or I'm just curious if there's any truth to any of the characters.
It's an amalgam of both. Like there's some truth in all of the characters. Like the boozy lawyer is like a combination of a real lawyer who is at my parents' resort, and a little bit of my mom is in that character.
Neat.
And my best friend growing up, Eric, who passed away the night we got financing for the first movie of a drug overdose. There's a little bit of Corey in him. Some of the things he used to say. And if you even look at some of the characters' names are a little bit of foreshadowing. If you look at Charlie Tillerman's last name, a Tillerman is someone who steers the ship. So you kind of know
right.
by looking at her name alone that she should probably going to be the one who takes over the resort.
So what about in the first film though? Like, I mean, just from excuse me, just
a little
from
of it is based off of my parents' experience with nudism, but it's very loosely based on how my parents kind of took over a resort, and now they run a resort down in Sanibel called Sanibel Naturists.
Sure,
because
I just think one of the real strengths about the story is, in a film of this caliber, it would be really easy to accidentally have two-dimensional characters. It would be really easy to accidentally have flat, hollow feeling characters.
That was something that I was concerned about when writing the first movie. Is like at worst they're stereotypes, and at best they're archetypes, I think.
Right. See, but I think it's I think it's really well done. And Pete and I, so this is kind of a two episode series where we're going to release this interview as an episode of our podcast, and we're also going to sit down, just Pete and I, and review the film. But something to me that I find so interesting is, like, you've got these two. My notes here is when we're first introduced to Charlie and Leah, what pops into my head initially is Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau as the odd couple. You've got one.
There was a bit of Grumpy Old Men.
Yeah. Because you've got
some of my favorite movies are Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
And Grumpy Old Men, and like I love the frickin' fracking duo. There's something that like I very consciously put it. Even John McClane and Al Powell from Die Hard was part of it. There's an homage to those characters, definitely, and. But
I think you do,
and we continue that in the sequel too, just as in a different way.
Right.
Yeah, there's a different buddy combo in the sequel.
Sure.
There's really two buddy combos in the sequel.
Okay.
With some new characters, which is like Charlie has a boyfriend who's one of a great actor named Tariq Lowe, who I think is pretty much going to be, a young Denzel Washington, and I think he's one of the best young actors out there.
Nice.
Cool.
And I was really glad to get him. And so we have there's like more pairs of actors in the sequel, but yes, that was something that was very consciously set up.
Well, I mean, hats or clothes off to the the writing process, because I think a good job was done of avoiding a stereotype, because you've got Leah, who's very straight-laced. When we first meet her, she seems very, she's got a schedule. Her apartment or her house is much cleaner. Everything's organized.
Very type A.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
Very
right.
professional when she answers the phone, the way she conducts herself, and Charlie's almost a polar opposite. She's like she almost gives off like a punk rock, well, it's in the film. She's very anti-establishment, right? She's kind of got that the Clash kind of biker chick, free spirit kind of feeling to her, and I think the film does an incredible job of avoiding falling into those stereotypes, because based off that first introduction of the two, my assumption would have been that Charlie would have embraced the nudity before Leah. But that's not how it plays out. And so to me that's so interesting, and it adds such a layer, because all of a sudden you start asking yourself, okay, but what are Charlie's hang-ups, and maybe this tough girl act is just that. It's this tough girl act,
which you start to see sometimes in nudism itself. The people who talk a big game are usually the ones who are kind of the most afraid once they get there.
Sure. Okay, that's interesting.
We see that a lot in like first timers at nudist resorts, where people come like, I'm fine with being naked, I have no problems, and then they're like, those are sometimes the people who are the most scared to drop the towel, so to speak.
Sure.
The ones who kind of talk a big game, and sometimes it's the people who say like, I don't know if I'll be comfortable with this, who are like within a few minutes most comfortable with it.
Right.
Yeah.
So would you
also in the sequel we get to see those roles change a little bit, because Charlie has to become the owner of the resort, where she is the more put together, or struggles with becoming the organized professional running a business, and we get to see Leah's true colors a little bit, where if you think about it, Leah is a 50-50 partner who stands to lose nothing. If Charlie does a good job and runs the resort well, she makes half the money, and if Charlie fails epically, Leah gets a tax deduction, and she's already rich, so she gets to save more money. So Leah's true colors kind of get revealed a little bit more in the sequel, where she has absolutely nothing to lose by saying yes, and Charlie kind of has everything to lose.
Right. She's already lost out on her $500,000 because they're not selling. But that's true. As a business partner, she can kind of just sit back and let the cards play themselves out.
And some people who are already wealthy are happy to take a tax loss.
Sure. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So she wins either way.
So would you say the film, would you say Act Naturally is a like, talking about nudists and naturist resorts, would you say that the film accurately portrays naturism and naturism resorts, or are some aspects of the story intentionally exaggerated?
It depends which nudist resort you're going to, because like it's a fairly accurate representation of the one that I grew up going to, and it is much more kind of apropos to the way Bear Oaks runs its railroad, where you have like a few minutes to get comfortable disrobing, and if you don't get comfortable, there's the door. Which is
Stefan's park that we were talking about earlier.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of how my parents run their railroad.
Sure.
Where
clothing optional versus non-clothing optional, nudity required.
And when it's cold and stuff, yeah, obviously we're not insane. We get dressed when it's cold, but it's still you don't get fully clothed. You put on like a big thick robe, or like, you wear like a hoodie, to warm up. But like, it's not. It's you don't want to come down to the clubhouse in full attire.
Sure.
Unless you're on your way out.
Unless you're leaving.
Oh, okay, right. Getting in your car and which is a line in Act Naturally, right? She says, "Really, coat hangers?" And
everybody arrives in clothes.
Everyone arrives wearing clothes. Yep.
And also, I try and write a movie that I won't get sick of seeing, because I have to watch it more than anybody.
Over and over and.
I did over 75 clothing optional screenings just at nudist resorts before we even get into film festivals, or like, spot checking DVDs for festival submissions, or even editing it.
Yeah.
I've got to watch these movies thousands of times. Mm-hmm. So I try to write something that I want to see.
Yeah.
So I try to write elements into like buddy comedies and the movies that I enjoyed growing up watching. Like, there's an element of there's some homages even that are pretty subtle to like The Big Lebowski if you pay close attention.
Sure.
And there's homages to Clerks in there. Basically, when I wrote the movie, I kind of pitched it as Clerks at a nudist resort. with Walter and
I can see.
with Dante and Randall.
Yeah, there you go. So I've only got one question left, and it's not really act naturally related. So do you have anything that you want to throw a sprinkle you want to throw on the top of this cupcake before we?
I think that's ultimately it. This conversation is weaved in a lot of interesting spots. I mean,
and we've already suckered them into coming back. So
yeah,
I mean,
well, and that's what one of my questions was going to be, was just telling us, what's next. And you guys have not only hinted at a sequel, but a sequel to the sequel,
sequel.
And just you've given us some you've sprinkled some teasers here just to kind of give us an idea of what's coming. So that's definitely fascinating. I think I'm my question is, what is your question, Brady?
My question is for JP. Can you tell me in a couple of quick sentences, have you ever seen the movie Ocean's 11, and what is that story?
I worked on Ocean's 11. I'm in that movie.
It was a loaded question.
Okay. I am in Ocean's. I was actually, that's the second big set I was ever on. A girl who I went to film school with got mono during the Chicago leg of it, and I went to go fill in and ended up kind of being Steven Soderbergh's intern for a little bit during the Chicago leg. I worked on Ocean's 12 as well.
Everyone in the film industry is friggin' on their last leg, half on their deathbed. Like
we work ourselves ragged.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, there's an 18, 20-hour day that will mess with your immune system. And if you can't survive on 4 hours sleep. But I think Ocean's 11 is a movie without a good guy. I think it's like kind of like Jaws, where everybody's the shark.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of how I looked at it when it was filming. And I even asked Steven at one point, like, who's the protagonist in this film? And he kind of said, nobody. They're all villains.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
So, yes, I loved working. Ocean's 11 and the Wilco documentary. I had an internship at Wilco, and I ended up working pretty closely alongside Sam Jones on the I Am Trying to Break Your Heart. And that was really my film school.
Right.
And I kind of got hooked by being in the movie Hoosiers. I was in the film Hoosiers when I was a little kid, and I played Dennis Hopper's grandson.
Cool.
And if you look at the Hoosiers 30-year anniversary DVD was just released, and I'm on the back picture of the Blu-ray.
Right.
So you can see a 10-year-old JP sitting in the bleachers.
Jeez. Well, yeah, and
that's where I got really hooked.
And you know what? I resonate with your referring to being on that set as your film school, because like I recently turned down. I had applied to a couple different post-secondary programs because I reached my late 20s, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I'll just go back to school. And I turned down an offer for Ontario's most prestigious film program. And I did so on the advice of a couple of people. So I've been making, I've been fooling around with a camera and Adobe Premiere and script writing and doing all these things for like 11 years now. And all self-taught for the most part. And someone said to me, they said, you know what? They said, honestly, at this point, with what you've done, you'd be better off to take the money that you would spend on school and use it to finance a feature-length film, and just do it. Just do it and learn, and that's how you start your networking, get yourself out there, and just learn.
That's kind of initially what I had planned to do. I was a percussion major who was on a scholarship, and I got hit. I was in a car accident where a 91-year-old Alzheimer's patient kind of escaped from his group home and had a head-on collision with me, shattering my wrist and taking me out of percussion. And I decided to kind of start taking film classes electively, and took an intro to film class where I was originally going to try and make a feature, and I took some very sage-like advice from my cinematography professor. And he said, try and make like a 10-minute thing first and see if you can just tell a good 10-minute story and then have a feature script ready to go based on it. Yeah. And that 10-minute story ended up being about 3.5 minutes of silent film. It ended up being like a narrative music video. and I thought I'd kind of failed. I was supposed to be a 10-minute talkie, but our sound sucked, and like a lot of the scenes were bad, and so I thought I'd failed. And at the urging of my professor, he's like, no, there's a good story in there. It's just not the story you thought you captured.
Yeah.
And so I kept working on it over the summer that year, and I submitted it to South by Southwest, where I won a jury award, and then I won the Chicago Independent Film Festival's student category at the Chicago International, and it won some festivals and got in. And then the second thing I ended up directing was a major label music video for RCA. So if I think about that sometimes, where if I just would have given up and taken failure, where my life would be today, and I have no idea.
Sure.
And I also don't know that if I would have tried to make a feature, I would have probably fallen on my face even more, because I couldn't even, at that point in time, knew enough to make a good short.
Sure.
That was 11 minutes long, and talking, like, my sound was just atrocious on that thing. The batteries died.
So I'm gonna email you some paperwork, and it's gonna look like I'm asking you to sign over the rights to your life story, but just don't. Just sign it. Like,
don't read it.
Don't read it. Just, you know.
I'm assuming a standard release.
Yeah. It's just
so,
whatever.
like, I had a very different. I mean, you're talking about secondary education or post-secondary education. I'm going back I'm starting next week on my MFA in dramatic writing, and it was a really tough decision for me, but I finally decided that I really wanted to impart some of my wisdom to the next generation of filmmakers, which is why I'm going for the MFA. But I'm getting paid to do it, so I'm cool with that. And I also grew up in the entertainment business. My mom was the head writer for The Young and the Restless and The Bold and the Beautiful for 42 years. I was on The Young and the Restless as 2 different roles. Once when I was 5 for 30 episodes, and as a character named Betsy Sanderson, and then as another character when I was 12 named Heather Lynch.
See, so you're starting out with a Rolodex. You're starting out with some networking already.
So
I would also like to include the fact that, like, in my first short film, that one that I first made, I ended up getting the grandmother from Titanic, the old Rose, in that movie as the lead before Titanic came out.
Gloria something, right?
What?
Yeah, her name's Gloria.
Yeah.
But Titanic hadn't come out yet, so I finished that film around the time Titanic was coming out, and she told me she couldn't do it on certain days when I cast her. But I put up a little flyer at the Piven Theater Workshop. Jeremy Piven's mom has a theater workshop right across the street from Northwestern, and I put up a little flyer that said, "Old, like to act, want to be in a lead."
Right, that's amazing, because a little backstory, on us. I keep flip-flopping on this. I don't think Titanic is my favorite movie of all time, but when I look at what they achieved, what they built, how they achieved it, Jim Cameron's dedication and how everything was done, I think I sit on the position that, second to Act Naturally, Titanic is probably the greatest film accomplishment of all time.
It's up there.
Yeah.
It's up there. I think Terminator 2 holds up too. I just showed T2 to my intern. Tonto, as I call him, but his real name's Roman. But I just call him Tonto. But we just showed him T2 a couple of weeks ago, and
so many cultural things. Yeah, Hasta la Vista, baby, Talk to the Hand, like so many cultural things that we still.
The visual effects vocabulary just moving. Like the visual effects that were in T2 aren't any worse than the ones that were in Terminator Genesis, or the one from last year where Sarah Connor's back.
And they're definitely a leap over the first Terminator, because that's downright janky at times.
Yeah, it is. It's apples, and you can't even compare.
But I mean, you could say. I would say similarly, like Star Wars with their use of models, the original Star Wars with their use of models was made leaps and bounds in that arena.
And we wouldn't have been able to doing Act Naturally 1 in 2010, when we were doing all the visual effects for that. We still had to use a visual effects house like Zoic.
Yeah.
And on this one, we were able to kind of put a green screen up in my living room and have actors come in and act amongst. Some of the actors in this sequel have never even met each other
Right.
when they're in scenes together, because we were
yeah.
able to do green screen stuff where we could work around people's schedule, just have an actor come over, and we were able to get a lot of extras, and just by having actors come in and sit in front of a green screen naked and pepper in all these naked extras.
Which is
the Nude Olympics,
which is all
and I can do that all
on
at home now.
Yeah,
and I've had to very much expand my visual effects vocabulary. But and I do watch some of Jim Cameron's tutorials on Avatar and stuff, and on Titanic, of how because he did a lot of those visual effects himself when he was out of money on his Avid at home in Malibu. If you've read the book on how the Titanic was made,
I have. Trust me.
And I do read that every now and then for inspiration when I just want to give up.
Right.
I look at Jim Cameron, I'm like, well, he didn't give up on Titanic, and he was cutting at home in his spare bedroom on an Avid, and I'm literally cutting in my container now.
Going back to my statement that I think there is just some of the tenacious filmmaker insanity in us that causes us to continue having the endurance to do so.
Oh, for sure.
And you can't start a crazy contest with an Irishman named Riley and win. We are stubborn and hard-headed as they get, so we don't like to lose.
I like that. Well, guys, I guess the only other thing to talk about is if anyone's listening to this and they haven't seen the film Act Naturally, or they have and desperately need to see it again, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, for the time being, it's on the iTunes Store, Amazon, Vudu, which is Walmart's video portal, and as of in the first week of September, they'll be able to get a Blu-ray edition of Act Naturally with a digital download to the sequel if they buy it straight out of the gate, where you'll be the first people to see it. That way they get a download code where they'll be able to get a feature-length making of Doc, a soundtrack, and a sequel. So that's going to be a lot of bang for your buck, and that's going to be on Amazon in the first week of September.
Yeah, shit, count me in for that. That's a great
And that
deal.
way we're also kind of catching people up. If they buy the Blu-ray, they'll be able to if they haven't seen the first one, they'll be able to see the first one and then see the second one as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
get your backstory and your history, and then you get bombarded with a whole new story.
And if anyone wants to cut the making of to the sequel, we haven't even really started that yet, but it's going to be like Heart of Darkness.
Oh, God.
The making of the sequel might be better than the movie. So if anyone wants to start practicing that, I will ship you a terabyte of footage.
if you like really depressing
maybe
stories.
A petabyte, yeah. That's that'd be something to cut your teeth on for sure.
But we do
stories of true endurance.
We do appreciate being asked to talk, because we'll talk about ourselves all day long. We're filmmakers.
Well, you certainly will.
Oh yeah, I'm a press whore.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you gotta be. Nowadays
you have to be equal parts P.T. Anderson and P.T. Barnum.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. I like that.
In order to kind of cut through the noise.
I like that. Well, we will we'll post a bunch of the links down below on where people can go and watch the first one. And then we will, when we have you back on, we'll do the same thing for.
We are currently in the middle of Act Naturally movie is down, but we are currently in the middle of building. Actually, tonight, supernaturallymovie.com, which will be both the website for the first one and the second one.
That's exciting. And then the third one will come out, and there will be the box set with the steel books and each
coffee table books.
The coffee table
it'll
books.
come with a free towel.
The first 1,000 people to buy it will have a frame from the film and a little laminated. There's those the nice little touches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much.
Of course.
Anytime.
Yeah. Well, we'll take you up on that. People always say, I say, oh, thanks for having me over. And people say, oh, anytime. And I'm like, okay, 3 weeks from now when I show up at 4 a.m.,
I'll be awake.
Eat those
You're
words.
welcome.
I might not be awake, but I'll call you back.
Yeah. Well, and we've got your contact information now too. Yeah. So cat videos and chain letters and all the shit you didn't sign up. Well, thank you guys so much. We're looking forward to having you back. And looking forward to diving headfirst into the sequel and reviewing that as well. So yeah, until next time.
Yeah.
Thanks
so much for having us.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks so much.
You know what just occurred to me?
What?
we get a lot of any of the times that we do an episode that has something to do with naturism, because of our friend Stefan Duchesne, having been on an episode with us in the past.
Sure.
These episodes seem to get they get a lot of traffic.
They do. Yep.
And they get a lot of traffic from people who aren't our normal traffic.
For sure.
So what percentage, if you had to venture a guess, what number from 0 to 100 percentage do you think of the people who just listened to that interview listen to it naked?
Maybe I should have known where that question was going, but I honestly didn't. Like, I was so intrigued what percentage I was going to be guessing, but I really should have seen that coming.
Do you have a guess?
No.
Just throw a number out there. Just throw a number out.
42%.
Oh, I'm going as high as 70.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 70%.
It's hard to know, right? But
yeah, well, because we've agreed not to do that survey anymore. Because I don't think people were answering honestly.
Right.
But,
no.
Yeah. But thank you for listening.
Thank you.
That was a hoot and a half. If you kind of half remotely enjoyed that, there are all kinds of links in the link box, the show notes. There's all kinds of links in the show notes below that if you click on, will give you a deeper dive into our personal lives, including a hidden link with our social insurance numbers and driver's license numbers, a printable version of our passports, stuff like that. So there's Easter eggs for the whole family. I think
check them out, ladies and gents. Check them out.
Yeah. But no, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, those are all the best ways to find out what we're doing. Typically, we review films, and we give a lot of say as to what we're going to review to our listeners. So if you want to get in and have your say and cast your vote on all of those, then the social media links below are the way to do that.
Yes. So follow, subscribe, dang it.
If your pockets are feeling particularly heavy, we want to do everything we can to help burden you. Unburden you, I mean. Whoa. That was a slip.
Yes.
To unburden you. If you're part of the 30% who just listened and has pockets, then you can also check out our Patreon. There's a bunch of really cool stuff on there. And our merch store. Do it now.
Check it out.
Anyways, until next time.
Thanks for listening.
I'm Gary Busey.
Okay, I'm me.
All right. I don't. If I could be anyone, I don't know why I chose Gary Busey. There's better options.
Yeah.
Goodbye.